In Phenix City Schools, every student begins with a dream and leaves with a plan. Whether they're serving our nation, pursuing a degree, or starting a career, they're Red Devil ready. Because here, success isn't by chance, it's by design. Phenix City Schools. Enlisted, enrolled, employed. In Phenix City Schools, every student begins with a dream and leaves with a plan. Whether they're serving our nation, pursuing a degree, or starting a career, they're Red Devil ready. Because here, success isn't by chance, it's by design. Phenix City Schools. Enlisted, enrolled, employed. In Phenix City Schools, every student begins with a dream and leaves with a plan. Whether they're serving our nation, pursuing a degree, or starting a career, they're Red Devil ready. Because here, success isn't by chance, it's by design. Phenix City Schools. Enlisted, enrolled, employed. Phenix City Schools, every student begins with a dream and leaves with a plan. Whether they're serving our nation, pursuing a degree, or starting a career, they're Red Devil ready. Because here, success isn't by chance, it's by design. Phenix City Schools. Enlisted, enrolled, employed. and Phenix City Schools, every student begins with a dream and leaves with a plan. Whether they're serving our nation, pursuing a degree, or starting a career, they're Red Devil ready. Because here, success isn't by chance, it's by design. Phenix City Schools. Enlisted, enrolled, employed. In Phenix City Schools, every student begins with a dream and leaves with a plan. Whether they're serving our nation, pursuing a degree, or starting a career, they're Red Devil ready. Because here, success isn't by chance, it's by design. Phenix City Schools. Enlisted, enrolled, employed.
Good evening. Thank you for being here with us tonight, and I want to welcome you to the superintendent interviews for the Phenix City Board of Education. On behalf of the Phenix City Board of Education, I want to welcome you again with our staff, our students, families, and our community members, both those that are here in the room and those that are joining us via live stream. Selecting the next leader for Phenix City Schools is perhaps the most significant responsibility we hold as a board. We are committed to the process that is transparent, thorough, and focused on a mission of inquiry, innovation, and impact. We thank you for your presence and your engagements as we take this important step together. Before we begin, I would like to recognize my fellow colleagues on the Board of Education. At this time, I'm going to introduce those, and if you guys would make a gesture who you are. Again, my name is Yolanda Daniel, and I serve as the president of the Phenix City Board of Education, District 3, Place 2. Our next board member is Katrina Collier-Long. She serves as the vice chair, District 3, Place 1. We have Mr. Richard Carter, District 2, Place 2. Ms. Lakeisha Ligon, she's at large. Mr. Steve Pace, District 1, Place 1. Mr. Elliott Patrick, District 2, Place 1. And Mr. Jonathan Taylor, District 1, Place 2. Today, we are pleased to welcome and interview Mr. Nathan Walters for the position of superintendent. To ensure this process remains objective and community-focused, we have invited two distinguished leaders from the East Alabama Chamber of Commerce to serve as our moderators. Following the conclusion of this interview, we will invite everyone to join us in the boardroom lobby for a brief meet and greet. This will be a wonderful opportunity for our stakeholders, community members to speak briefly with Mr. Walters before our session concludes for tonight. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome our moderators to the podium. Ms. Melissa Gant, who's the president of East Alabama Chamber of Commerce, and Ms. Denise DeBose, who is the director of membership and marketing for East Alabama Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, and we welcome you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, it's our distinct honor to be a part of this process, and we are excited about the opportunity for this interview. So I'll set a little bit of the ground rules just to let you know that you have an hour and a half. You have 13 questions, so pace yourself. And I'll give you kind of a time check about halfway through just to just so that you can kind of pace yourself accordingly. So take your time. We're going to alternate. I'll ask a question, then Denise will also, we'll alternate.
All right, let's get started. Please give us a summary of your professional experiences, your key beliefs in public education, and why you're interested in being the superintendent of Phenix City Schools.
Yes, ma'am. Before we begin, am I allowed to hand this to each board member?
I think probably at the end.
You want it at the end?
At the end, there's an opportunity that kind of, or is your most of your information in there?
We can do it either way. We can do it at the end. We do it at the end.
It's fine.
You sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have one job and I've already messed it up. I just want to say I'm giving them a packet that has a bio of me. It also has a 100-day plan. It also has the strategic plan and everything we can do with the strategic plan. It has my resume. It also has the questions that are being asked tonight, but they are not written in formal answers. They are my notes because they are authentic. I didn't want to chat GPT or anything. I just wanted you to see what Nathan wrote, okay? Number one, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I know y'all have a tough decision, and I know y'all will make the right decision for whoever you hire for the next superintendent of Phenix City Schools. The one good thing is I got a great meal out of this, and I got a new suit, so that's great. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have proudly served Phenix City Schools for 26 years. Every role that I've held has shaped the leader I am today. I began as a 4th grade teacher at PCIS, and then I transitioned to a 5th grade teacher at PCIS. That's when PCIS was 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Of course, it's no longer that. I then was part of the RALA program, which is Renaissance Accelerated Learning Academy, which we supported the lowest performing 4th through 6th graders who did not qualify for special education. I then transitioned to South Girard for a few years, and I was a Title I reading teacher. My passion is reading. I then moved from there, and I ran the alternative school for 7 years. It was at the alternative school that I really found what education is about. That was probably the best time of my career, those 7 years. At the alternative school, of course, we ran the daily alternative school, and then we added different components. We added a night school for kids who got in a little more trouble or kids who had to work during the day. We also created a class called the 8th/9th grade transition class. This was a class for 8th graders who was a little too old to be in the 8th grade. You came to us, you did your 8th grade work. In January, we got you to the 9th grade. We worked with you from January throughout the summer, and by August, you were a 10th grader. So it was a way to get pretty much 2 years in one. We did several other things at the alternative school. We were in charge at the time of the GED program. That was when you could, of course, drop out and get your GED, and I helped teach that also. We also had New Beginnings, and I talked the central office into, at the time, transitioning the hearings to the alternative school. They used to be done here at the central office, and I took over all hearings, and I also became the truancy officer. One of the most proud moments at the alternative school was it used to be just book work, book and paper. We created, Mr. Parms and David Wilson looked into and taught the board into hiring something at the time called E2020. It was a computer-based platform. We took that and also implemented it into the Success Academy. And over the next few years, Jason Sasser and I took 5 classes, aligned it with the state standards, and created 22 classes. By doing that, we then gave it back to Central High School, and that became credit recovery and grade recovery, which we still use a lot today. We also implemented that for homebound services, and we also implemented that for our summer schools. So I'm very, very proud that I got to work with Mr. Sasser. That was a pretty big thing that I got to do with him. I then have moved to the central office. I've overseen many departments. I've been supervisor, coordinator, director, and moved up into the assistant superintendent for the last 3 years, and then became the superintendent designee and the interim superintendent. These experiences have given me a deep understanding of our students, of our staff, and the system that makes Phenix City Schools the premier school system which we are. I've enjoyed every aspect of my career here in Phenix City. Phenix City is all I know. My core belief is simple. It's we change the world by developing leaders one child at a time. We have to develop every child. We have to meet them where they're at. And we have to develop every child to get them ready so they can go change the world, so they can take care of us, just to be honest. And it doesn't matter where that child's located in Phenix City, whether you're from the north or the south. We have to develop every child. I believe that education as a whole, we are responsible for the academics of children, but also the social, emotional aspect of them too. And I believe by giving them extracurricular activities, no matter if it's STEM center, no matter if it's band, what have you not, and also athletic opportunities, it gives them a way out. When I mean a way out, I don't mean that bad. It gives them a way out of school and gives them different avenues to go to college. I also believe that public education thrives when schools, families, churches, and the community work together. One thing that I've been really proud of as my time as designee and interim superintendent is we've made it a point to focus on the community. As you can see, the past few board meetings, we always recognize a community event. We always bring somebody in who's been in the community and we recognize them. We have to get more community involvement. I know people say that, but we're going to get more community involvement. We're going to recognize them, but we're also going to go see the community. There's a lot of events that I believe I've been to, and they're very beneficial to the school district. Why have I chosen to run for superintendent of Phenix City Schools? It's very simple. I'm not just an employee of Phenix City Schools, I'm a product of Phenix City Schools. When people ask me, how long have you been with Phenix City Schools, I laugh. Because I've worked here 26 years, but I went to school here K through 12. I did my internship here. Phenix City Schools is all I know. There's nothing else I know. A lot of times people, and I don't aim this at any disrespect in anybody who's interviewed, but a lot of times people just want to be a superintendent. There's nothing wrong with that. I never wanted to be a superintendent. I wanted to be superintendent of Phenix City Schools. I've had the opportunity to go elsewhere. I don't want to go elsewhere. I love this community. All of you pretty much born and raised here. When you're born and raised in Phenix City, there's just something about Phenix City. We always come out on top. We always have a winning attitude, and we are who we are. I think if you made a puzzle of me and you put it on the table, I think when you put the pieces back together, it would show a picture of me. I don't know if that picture would be pretty, but it would show a picture of me, but it would also show Phenix City. You would see in the left corner the WA. You'd see the red dot. We believe, winning attitude. You would see Garrett Stadium. You would see Sanford Road Park, where I grew up playing basketball. You would see Trinity United Methodist Church, where I grew up, and then every day after church, walked next door to Riverview and played basketball. You would see Fred Douglass, where I grew up and played basketball because that was one of the main sports I played growing up. And I was fortunate to have a car, and a lot of my friends were on the basketball team, so I took them home. So when I say I'm part of this community, I'm part of all of Phenix City, not just one aspect. Last but not least, I applied for this job, and I want this job because I believe that I can help bridge the gap with the school system, the city, and the community. A lot of times you'll hear people say, well, the school system and the city don't get along. That is so false, it's unreal. We do get along. We have a great relationship. I want to make it even better. I'm friends with Mayor Lowe. I'm friends with Mr. Hunter, who is the city manager, but they're also my mentors. I talk to them all the time. I get advice from them. I want to be the one that can bridge the entire city along with the school district. And at the same time, I want to make children better and teach them that they have a light, and I want their light to shine. Thank you.
As superintendent of Phenix City Schools, what is your vision of the school district over the next 3 to 5 years? And this is a two-part question. How would you lead the district, and what would be your defining mark that you would leave on the system? And part two, how would you measure that success?
Well, my vision aligns directly with the Phenix City Schools strategic plan and centers on expanding opportunities, strengthening instruction, and building systems that last. Over the next 3 to 5 years, I want to see a district where every student has access to rigorous curriculum. Not just easy curriculum, but rigorous curriculum. I want to see a district where every student has access to athletics, extracurricular activities, career tech, and is part of some extracurricular opportunity or program. I want our schools to be places where students feel safe and they feel supported and challenged. And I also want our teachers to feel valued, equipped, and empowered. How do I plan to lead the district, and what would be the defining mark that I will leave on the system? I plan to lead with transparency, collaboration, and a steady focus on student outcomes. My defining mark will be the creation of strong, sustainable systems, academic, operational, and cultural experiences that support student successes long into the future. This will include strengthening curriculum and expanding the arts and extracurricular opportunities. As you are aware, we have grown our band. Mr. Kirby Scott has done a phenomenal job with the band. We've gone from 130 kids to 200 kids. We've had to buy them a band truck. We've grown our dance team. We've grown our chorus team. I want to continue to expand the arts. We're in the process of changing the STEM Center to the STEAM Center, in which that STEAM Center we will refurbish and transition and tie it into the Chattahoochee River and teach our history and our legacy there, and then go across the campus to the new band hall where it has a foyer to display art. In that hall, what I would like to leave a mark on is where we're teaching the history of Phenix City. There's the picture of South Girard. We're teaching those kids what South Girard is, what the history is, what it is before you go to South Girard, how it's an honor to go to South Girard. I want to have posters of Cobb Hospital and explain what Cobb Hospital used to be, and some of the older schools like Higginbottom that are no longer here. So I would love to see the arts go across PCIS and then penetrate all of our other schools as we refurbish the libraries to 21st century libraries so we can have more art activities in there. We're also fixing to break ground on the PCES multipurpose facility, which is going to have an art stage on there. I think another key mark would be cross-training our administrators to build leadership capacity. I'm worried right now, I'm going to be honest with you, that our administrators, a lot of them are not ready to take on central office roles. I want to start cross-training them. There's got to be a point to when our transportation director, Mr. Gibson, retires, that we have somebody on the inside ready to jump in. We got to cross-train, and we got to have multiple people that can do different things. So if someone is out long-term, someone's here that can do it. And another thing, when it comes with cross-training, we got to put our administrators in places so they can facilitate the goals, needs, and objectives of our students, so we can get them enlisted, enrolled, and employed through inquiry, innovation, and impact. Now, we've already started that last month where we did a realignment, and we transferred some principals and vice principals. It's already in place. None of that was moved because they did anything wrong. It was putting them in a place so they can better succeed to help children grow, because everything is about the students. And then last, to continue upgrading facilities. We're fixing to, the goal of the strategic plan, which you have, was to have a multi-purpose facility at every elementary school. We're fixing to complete number 4 at PCE. So you have Ridgecrest, you have Sherwood, Westview, PCE, and we're breaking ground in a month at Lakewood. That's a big deal. Almost all of our elementary schools, you'll be down to Meadow Lane and Lakewood Primary that doesn't have one. But that's a huge deal to have those multi-purpose facilities. That's a good community center space. That's a place for kids to play when it's bad weather. That's a place to have community events. Another thing is, as I've already said, the upgrading of the libraries, but another thing is changing the STEM Center to the STEAM, which I've already mentioned, upgrading it. And then one of the things I'm really excited about, growth brings problems, but growth also brings opportunities. I'm very excited that you all agreed that we're going to take the central office and buy the Troy building. And we're going to buy the Troy building and make that our central office. That's another defining moment I would like to see with the growth. That Troy building is going to give us opportunities to put all of our central office in one building. We now have special ed and curriculum that can work together, and we have student services that can work together. Everybody talks about a report card, having everybody together, meeting daily and more continuous, that will increase the report card. There's also ways to grow inside of that building. Do we want a virtual school or something like that? So I want to leave a legacy of equity-driven decision-making, improved achievement for all student groups, and a unified school district where every employee understands their role and they're in a place to succeed. You asked how we would measure success. Success can be measured in many ways through multiple indicators aligned with our strategic plan. You can always we'll look at academic growth and closing the achievement gap. You can always close the achievement gap. What subgroups are struggling? What can we do to make those groups better? What can we do? We can always look at improving on our school climate and culture. I think right now that's a heavy focus we've put on the past few months of school climate and culture. I believe in what I call everybody has to paint a picture. I believe everybody paints a picture. And if you break down the letters of the picture, I think it goes with culture. Pictures, we're going to be positive. We're always going to have intensity. We're always going to be consistent. The T is we're going to be teachable. Okay, we are. We're going to learn ourselves. The U is going to be unity, the R is going to be relationships, and the E is going to be equity. That's how you build a culture, by painting a picture. And to give equity, you may have to give one subgroup a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with that. When I was in elementary school, I was that kid that needed a little bit more. I almost failed the first grade and second grade. I had to go to summer school. I had to be pulled out for one-on-one instruction. So again, I thank Phenix City Schools for, giving me equity and giving me what I need, or I wouldn't be here today. We have to increase teacher retention and leadership development. We do a good job of teacher recruiting, but we gotta do a better job of retaining teachers. What can we do for teachers to stay? That's what we have to figure out. And leadership development. As I've already said, we have to develop our administration. I would like to see a leadership academy for up-and-coming leaders that want to go into administration. I also think there needs to be a vice principal academy to teach our vice principals more, to get them ready to be a principal. Stronger family and community engagement. I think that's the biggest focus of everything, just to be honest, in the school system, is parental involvement and community focus, and consistent, sustainable systems that support students and staff. Success is when every school shows growth and every student group thrives. Thank you. Good question.
What steps would you take to create a culture of learning and high expectations among the employees in our school system?
I've taken a lot of PD and classes on culture. I just completed a PD last year at Auburn University. I think the first thing to build a culture of learning and high expectations is you have to set clear academic priorities. What are our academic priorities? What are we just trying to increase the report card, or are we trying to make our students better in every aspect of life? Social, emotional. So we have to set clear academic priorities. We also have to model continuous learning. It is a must. And we have to ensure every employee understands their role when it comes to student achievement. This will include high-quality professional development. High-quality PD that ties to Tier 1 instruction that is data-driven, and if we do this, then there's a less need for Tier 2, which is pull-out and small group instruction, or Tier 3, which is intervention. However, if a student is not responding, we must focus and meet them where they are so we can make them better. Okay? So I'm a big proponent on having good, high-quality professional development. Part of that professional development, I'm going to be very transparent with you, is we have too many people missing PD days. PD days need to almost be blackout days. Our administrators have to push it. You can't miss. It almost needs to be a blackout day where you can't miss. If we really want to help a child and we're giving you PD to help them, you shouldn't miss on that day. So that is one thing that I think when it goes to creating a culture of learning is creating the priorities and the importance of being here on PD so we can help our children. Next is we have to always celebrate instructional excellence. Again, this is something we've started to do at the board meetings. We bring in somebody to say the Pledge of Allegiance. It's somebody that's done something good at school or got the Character Education Award or did something with robotics. And then every month we bring in a group from a different school that is part of a program and we celebrate them. We let them sing. We let them dance. Again, that's another way to bring kids in and to get parental involvement and to build a culture where our community is involved. We have to use data to guide decisions. Data will show us where to go. We can't manipulate the data. We have to be honest with our data. And then we have to reinforce the belief that all students can grow. I said this earlier, it doesn't matter what part of town you're from. You can grow. And every child deserves the best teacher and the best instruction. When adults aim high and hold themselves accountable, students will rise to meet those expectations.
How would you support building principals, and what would be your approach for developing and assessing their performance, and share specific goal strategies?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Principals are the most important leaders, truthfully, in their building. As I've already said, one thing I did when I became designee and interim superintendent is I sat down with every principal, one-on-one. I met them twice. One time one-on-one and one time with Dr. Coaxum, who's in charge of personnel. And we went over their data, we went over their attendance, we went over their grades, we went over their report card. And it wasn't an area that we were getting onto them. And then the question was, where do you want to be in 3 years? And that was, again, part of the reason we reassigned some principals. You know, some people tried to make that look bad, and that was not a bad thing. That was a great thing. That we moved some principals around to get them ready for the future by giving them the opportunity to possibly be in charge of a bigger school. So I think, number one, you have to meet principals and decide where they are and where they want to go. And you have to be honest and tell them right now where you think they are. We have to provide consistent coaching through school visits, walkthroughs, and leadership meetings. I have to always be in the schools, constantly walking the halls. You have to hold beginning, mid-year, and end-of-the-year conferences to discuss strengths and areas of growth. One of the things I would like to do, it's twofold. I would like to establish a mentor avenue for our principals. One, I would like to take some of our veteran principals. I said I wasn't going to say names, but I will. We have a Chris Lindsay who's been an administrator for 21 years. We can make him a lead principal. We have a Aretha McDonald who's been here a while. We can make her a lead principal, and she can mentor to some of the other principals. And that helps them because they feel like they have a voice. Sometimes when we as the central office go talk to them, it's just like a kid. They get intimidated. They won't tell us the truth. The second thing we can do is bring outside mentors. Not going to say names, but there's a lot of people in the area who are retired that we could bring back to help be mentors for our principals. Everybody needs discipline, kids and adults. That's part of being a mentor. They need discipline and guidance. I need it, y'all need it, our principals need it. We can set clear expectations aligned to district goals and instructional priorities. Clear expectations. Of course, we can use data collaboratively to identify needs and next steps. We can offer targeted professional development for our principals. One thing I would like to implement, and I've already sent it to the state, is I would like to teach our principals a year-long PD, which is called Upstream. It's a book by Dan Heath, and the whole book is about how to be proactive instead of retroactive. I would like to help principals learn how to get out in front of stuff before it's too late and we have to clean it up. So we have to teach them how to be proactive. And last but not least, implement a fair, growth-oriented evaluation process that includes student data, school culture and climate surveys, and evidence of instructional leadership. My goal is to build strong leaders who build strong schools. Thank you.
What do you see as the role of the superintendent as it relates to the school board? And what do you see as the role of the board? Give specific examples of how you would keep the board informed about what's happening in the school system.
The superintendent is the CEO of the school district. All instructional and non-instructional employees fall under the general guidance of the superintendent. I mean, that's a great definition, but in summary, the superintendent is responsible for implementing the board's vision, managing daily operations, making recommendations based on data and best practices. The board governs, sets policy, approves budgets, and ensures accountability. The superintendent and the board have to walk hand in hand, side by side, and have a really good relationship. To keep the board informed, I've already started this. I don't see anything wrong with over-communicating. I'm going to send texts, I'm going to send phone calls, I'm going to send emails, and some examples I can give. If something major happens, you're going to get a text right then. For example, an ambulance has to go to Central High School. I'm going to send a text to the board chair and vice chair. Ambulance at Central High School, student fell out. And then we're going to also follow that up with an email to the entire board. Then once we get more information, I'm going to respond, student had a seizure, student is at home with parents, and send a follow email up to the board. Also, I'm going to call every board member at least once a week. more than likely more than once a week, and I think I've already established that with everyone here. So I'm going to call, and a lot of times I'm giving updates on the school system, things that have happened. It's very rare nothing's happened, and I don't mean that bad, but it's very rare. But I'm going to give updates. I'm also going to always ask the board when I call them, do you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, or ideas? And then I'm always going to end it, are there any rumors you've heard? And I mean that question sincerely, because for every rumor, you know, that's going to be a negative. You have to do about 10 positives to put it down. One of the examples I can give is when we hired the football coach, I thought we did a very, very good job. But I remember board members contacted me saying, hey, it's on social media that this person's getting it. Don't know where that got started. But through communication, we shot that down. When it comes time for board meetings, generally your work sessions are on Tuesday and the board meeting is on Thursday. I'm going to send the packet the Thursday before. I'm going to call every board member on Friday or Saturday, and yes, I said Saturday. I'm going to call them and I'm going to say, hey, did you look at the board packet? Do you have any questions? And to me, that's the best time, to me, because I've actually learned something where I had an action item on there, and they said to me, you've never talked about this, and you're wanting us to vote. And I was like, oh, well, can I change it to an informational item? You know, that was a very good time, so we're not out in public and anyone getting embarrassed. It would have been me. But then, after the work session on Tuesday, I'm going to call every board member on Wednesday or Thursday. Do you have any questions for Tuesday? Are there any surprises on personnel? Is there anything you need me to clarify more? Okay? Because the goal is by the time you come Thursday night should be a celebration, and it goes really quick. Okay? Now, I believe in transparency. I have an open door policy. I think all board members know they can come to me at any time. They can shut the door, and one-on-one, they can be as blunt with me as they want. I enjoy that. I like that. I need that. So I'm always going to communicate about urgent issues. I'm always going to call at least once a week. I'm always going to offer opportunities for school visits, keep them inclined with activities going on, ask them to show up. Constant communication. I don't think you can over-communicate. Although I did have one board member, when I called them on a Monday, I said, you didn't answer Saturday. They said, well, you called me 4 times all week. I needed a break. So I get that, but, you know, that was over-communicating. I get it. But a strong superintendent-board relationship is built on trust, transparency, and a shared commitment to students. Thank you.
Describe a time, that's kind of funny that that they said that was enough, it needed a break. That was kind of funny. Describe a time that you made a difficult personnel decision, and how did you handle it?
You know, I've had to make several difficult personnel decisions, and I wish I could sit here and say it's easy and it doesn't bother me, but that's not true. It does bother you. We've all lived here. We know a lot of people. So, number one, I want to give kudos to the Human Resources Department, because every time this decision happens, Dr. Coaxum dots the I's and crosses the T's and gives me a script. So I want to say that before I answer this question. That Human Resources Department are rock stars, and I really mean that. I had a time not too long ago where I had an employee that I had some ongoing performance concerns with, who was not meeting expectations, despite significant support. I felt significant support. I documented concerns, provided coaching, set clear goals, set clear expectations, just still was not getting any improvement. Brought them in for a conference, and one thing, I don't want to get off the subject, but one thing I want to thank the board on is my mentor, Carlton Jenkins. Dr. Jenkins taught me this, that when it comes time to personnel issues, don't get onto them, ask questions. And that always stuck with me. You ask questions. So I brought him in and just asked questions. It was, hey, why wasn't your financials turned in on time? Well, I didn't know. Okay. Well, hey, why weren't these IEPs signed? Well, the IEP teacher was out. You can real quick establish a pattern. And there was a pattern there. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to send different central office people to help you. I did that. I took information back from them. Still didn't make much progress. Gave them a mentor, took advice from the mentor. Over the course of a year, met this person 4 times. And then after the 4th meeting and really not a lot of improvement, I let the board know that, hey, I'm going to have to recommend non-renewal. It was not easy. I don't even want to say it was easy. It's never easy. It doesn't matter if you know them or not. They're a human and I'm a human. But I will say I handled it professionally, respectfully, and in accordance with policy. And when you do these decisions, you always keep students at the center of your decision.
Eliminating the achievement gap is a key priority for our district. What approaches would you pursue? What leadership and guidance would you provide to ensure that all approaches are properly evaluated and adjusted over time to meet changing student needs?
Good question. To eliminate achievement gaps, I will focus on strategies grounded in equity and high-quality instruction. Number one, when it comes to eliminating achievement gaps, early identification of student needs is a must. The earlier, the better. There's just something wrong when someone's in the 5th grade and working on a 1st or 2nd grade level and they've never had a 504 or IEP, okay? There's something wrong when you have a senior who's lacking 6 credits and didn't know, or there was an issue. So you have to have early identification of the student's needs. You have to have strong Tier 1 instruction in every classroom. I talked about Tier 1 instruction in a previous question, but Tier 1 is your main construction for all students, and you have to have strong Tier 1, and you have to have strong PD for Tier 1 instruction, and that goes back to we can't miss those days of PD. Then there's got to be targeted interventions and progress monitoring. Targeted interventions for each child, whether it's through Tier 2 or Tier 3, and you got to have progress monitoring, and you got to get the parents involved. It's a must. You have to let them be aware. I learned this the hard way. You may email the parents and they may not respond. They didn't respond because they don't have a computer. So we have to come up with more ways than just putting everything on the internet. It makes it easier, don't get me wrong, but there's some people that just aren't up to that. So there's times we got to call our parents in and explain things to them. Expanded access to advanced coursework. I'm very proud of our schools. Most, if not all, have created after-school tutorial programs, and a lot of our schools have created Saturday school. You know, you would think Saturday school's punishment, but from what I've seen, the elementary kids enjoy going. So I've really enjoyed seeing that this year. Professional development and culturally responsive teaching. We got to learn to teach different cultures, and we got to be responsive to that and acknowledge that. Family engagement that supports learning at home. One of the things I really enjoyed last week was Dr. Hope Upshaw, the Success Academy, held a community event strictly for family engagement. And she had all these different resources throughout the communities, and there was like 15, and each parent could go to each one, you know, to get a resource. We need more of that. I was visualizing that, thinking, man, this would be great in Central High School gym with about 50 people doing that. So it goes back to the community involvement. And shout out to Dr. Upshaw. That was awesome what she did. I will lead by ongoing evaluation through data reviews, school visits, and feedback from teachers and principals. As the students' needs evolve, our approaches must evolve with them.
What do you think is the role of extracurricular activities and career tech education and in the school system? And please explain.
I think it's pivotal and it's a must. Extracurricular activities and CTE programs are essential to a well-rounded education. They build confidence, leadership, teamwork, and real-world skills. CTE opens pathways to high-demand careers and helps students graduate with meaningful credentials. I'm very, very biased to CTE. My oldest son graduated and applied for the police academy. Now, he always wanted to be a policeman. And he didn't get selected because he's had heart surgery 3 times. So he didn't get selected. And he was crushed. But I was shocked at the amount of teachers that reached out to him, that taught him in career tech. And I'm happy to say that he is a heating and air HVAC guy for one of the local companies. And he's making a good living. And he's working, he told me recently, I said, "Hey Chase, where'd you work today?" He said, "Oh, I was on the top of one of the hospitals in Columbus." He said, "Yeah, it was messed up." And I said, "How much is that HVAC?" He said, "Oh, the compressor's $500,000. And I patted him on the back and said, "Man, don't mess up." You know, I didn't know what to say. I mean, I was like, "What?" And he just, he just chuckles. But if it wasn't for career tech, I'm speaking as a parent, I don't know what he could have done because of his health. We possibly could have gone the route and looked into disability, but he wanted to work. And I'm so passionate about career tech. I would love to see more options. There's fireman classes. I would love to see the big trucks and the tractor classes. I think in this area, career tech is the way to go. And I know a lot of people use, and career tech's not the only way to go, but I'm just saying it's a great option. And I know a lot of people say we're number 1 in the state or we have the best. I don't know anybody that has a better career tech program than Central High School. I just don't. It's beautiful. It's state of the art. In line with that, extracurricular activities, I think every child needs to be part of something. Whether it's band, whether it's robotics, whether it's NJROTC, filling in for the Naval Academy. I'm seeing more extracurricular activities. And again, we've started recognizing a lot of these groups at the board meetings, but just in the past 2 weeks, I've seen and heard of things that are happening with extracurricular I've never heard of. We had a robotics team that just got back from St. Louis. I'm a big sports guy, but that's a pretty big deal that they went to the national convention in St. Louis. That child will remember that the rest of their life. I think about athletics, how we have made women's sports number 1 in the country. I think about they're flying to California, this upcoming year. And you're just like, wow. And I know Mr. Holt's in the audience. He's going to throw something at me because he called me today and he said, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" He says, "There's a good chance the Atlanta Falcons are giving us a $10,000 donation." I mean, I don't mean it's ugly, but I don't mean it's funny. Y'all think about it. Phenix City, the Atlanta Falcons giving us the donation for girls to fly to California. That's pretty big. And that's because of extra curriculum. I mean, that's what athletics is. That's a big deal. And robotics flying to St. Louis, I want to see more of that district-wide. I want to see everybody go everywhere. But what extracurricular does is it gives kids discipline, gives them teamwork, and I give a lot of speeches when we win state championships. I always use this quote, rings collect dust, life's about relationships. Those kids are learning relationships for the rest of their life. They're going to look at that ring, they're going to look at that robotics trophy 20 years from now, and they're going to say, "Man, I remember Katie," or I remember Timmy, or "I remember that teacher that I thought picked on me." That's what they're going to remember, the relationships. Extracurricular activities and everything, and career tech, yes, it's very, very important.
Given that college and career readiness indicators, CCRI, are now required for graduation, how would you build and lead a system of accountability and collaboration among principals, CTE directors, and district leaders to ensure every student earns a CCRI before their senior year?
I'll build a system of accountability and collaboration by setting a district-wide expectation that every student earns a CCRI before their senior year. Creating shared data dashboards for principals, counselors, and CTE leaders to use, which we have PowerSchool they can use. That keeps up with a lot of this. We have spreadsheets that we're using. The main thing is monitoring the progress quarterly and staying on top of it to make sure that student is completing the CCRI. We don't want to get down to the last second and have to go take a CPR course, okay? We want to make sure it's done in a timely fashion. But what I'm really excited about, Ms. Averett is trying to expand the credential opportunities and dual enrollment. She's filled out a waiver for computer science, a waiver that maybe we could possibly teach in the 8th grade. So then you're allowing kids to get that even earlier instead of 9 through 12, all the way to 8th grade. Really excited when we attended the dual enrollment at CBCC the other day, and I think we had 63 kids through dual enrollment. Of course, we had the most kids. That is awesome. And identifying students early who need additional support to get it, and trying to make sure that they stay in the same pathway and don't change their pathway, because sometimes when they change that pathway, that messes up the opportunity to complete the CCRI. So this work requires teamwork, clear communication, and a shared belief that every student can achieve the readiness.
What strengths do you have in the area of financial management, including facilities management and construction? And give us an example of your involvement in the budget development and ongoing fiscal management.
How much time do I have left?
You have about 45 minutes left.
Okay, I'm gonna need 50. I think this is my area of strength. I bring strong experience in budget development, fiscal oversight, and aligning resources to district priorities. Currently, Phenix City Schools runs on about a $100 million budget. It's a pretty big budget. I'm proud to say we have 9 months in reserve. By law, you have to have 1 month in reserve. So 1 month is about $6 million. So if you do 9 times 6, you're at $54 million. One of the things that I'm proud of is that I got to oversee the CARES funding for 3 years. What is CARES funding? Okay, this was during COVID, and I don't get political, but I'm just going to explain this so everybody can understand easy. Every time the president, at the time Biden, who sent the citizens a check, the school system got a check. I don't know if y'all remember, there was 3 checks. Because of that CARES, Phenix City Schools the first time got $2 million. The second time we got $12 million, and the third time we got $22 million. If you add that up, it's $36 million. It's a lot of money, but it was to combat COVID. So we became creative, and you could use it for different things. So one of the things we used it for was to pay nurses' salaries for 3 years. Well, what does that mean? Well, instead of paying it out of the general fund, we paid it out of that, and that saved $3 million right there. Okay, there's $3 million savings for our general fund. Next thing we did, we used it for cleaning supplies for 3 years. Again, that saved another $3 million. Well, there's $6 million. So we just put 1 month in reserve for down the road, okay, because of the CARES Act. We did our upgrades, and instead of using A&T funding, which I'll get to in a second, we used the CARES fund because you could change carpet to LVP or tile, and you could change out paint and things like that. That saved about another $6 million. So through things like that, we were able to have a good bank to go from 3 months to 6 months through the CARES fund. So I really enjoy doing that. Over the past 5 years, I've overseen the A&T budget. The A&T budget is advanced and technology budget. What that is extra revenue you get from the state that you don't have to pay back. It's basically based off of your tax sales. So over the past 5 years, I think we started off $2 million, $3.1 million, $3.7 million, $7.7 million. That's a lot of money. And when you use that A&T money, you can use it for 7 different things. It's transportation, paying off debt, using it for school safety, deferred maintenance, technology. You can use it for some curriculum and mainly construction. So when you have that money, again, you don't have to take a loan or use your general fund. Using that money is how we built our multi-purpose facilities at our elementary school. That's how we're building PCES, and that's how we're going to break ground at Lakewood. That's how we did the PDC Center when we just did the renovation. And next year, it is tapering down to about $5 million because, again, COVID's gone, so there's not as much money for citizens, free money to spend, so your tax revenue is down a little bit. And I could see it the next year going down a little bit more, but there'll be another $5 million, and that's where we have to look at the capital plan and decide, what else is it we would like to infrastructure-wise, which ties to our strategic plan and to the arts and part of our facilities upgrades. Another thing that I've proposed to the board and still working on is I proposed a new matrix because I was worried that we could not sustain the longevity of the current matrix. There was some extra salaries added over the past few years, and when you look at it, the sustainability long-term is just not there. So we've redone the entire matrix and proposing it to the board. One of the things really excited about with Ms. McMullen, our CFO, guidance, we sat down, we called in the bank and we said, hey, we've got 9 months reserve in the bank. We don't need to tie it up in CDs. How can we gain interest? So we've created a visibility account, okay? We're gaining $120,000 to $130,000 interest a month off that account. You add that up, that's $1.5 million a year, okay? So, and then some other cost savings we've done is through some people who have left in the central office. Instead of replacing them, there's that little hashtag that says other duties assigned. We've given people those duties, and we've saved, some funding there. And through the realignment of the central office, we've saved funding. And then we have 2 bonds that are coming off this year. That's going to save about $650,000. And then I'm always watching the city and talking to Mr. Hunter and Mr. Lowe. You have to keep an eye on the city, and you have to look at the houses being developed. You have to look at the apartments. When you have an Outback and a Starbucks being built, I get excited because that's more money that's coming to us off that 1 penny tax and off the meals. So I'm projecting just off of that being built in the past year, an extra $300,000 or $400,000 next year. And then the more building we do throughout the city, the better we are. And again, we're doing a great job as Phenix City with that. Also, with all this funding, if you look, that's how we came up with the idea of, hey, let's make a run at the Troy building. Let's make a run at it. And with partnership with the city, if they buy our buildings, all we have to do is put $1 million down, $1 million down. And we finance $10 million, but remember, we get $120,000 interest a month. The interest alone pays for it. We're not touching our general fund. So that balance stays there. That gives us a state-of-the-art central office. I mean, that's big time. I don't know many central offices that'll be nicer than that. And all that is from refigurating the matrix, not replenishing certain jobs, things of that nature. So I love financing. I love numbers. I'm always trying to create numbers to find a way that we can impact student achievement through the savings that we're doing. And I just think we have to do a better job explaining that to the community, just to be honest. So also I'm part of, through the Russell County Commission, we have 2 tax mills coming up. One's a 4.5 tax mill, one's a 4 tax mill. That creates our local revenue. It's the 30 year that's coming up for the vote on May 18th, May 19th. I can't tell anybody how to vote for it. I can just tell you it's been there for 30 years, okay? And I can tell you that's our local money that comes to us, okay? Love financing. Sorry, I didn't mean to get long-winded. I could go on and on.
Phenix City is a close-knit community, and diverse community, and this is a 2-part question. In your role as superintendent, how would you work to ensure all groups are fully engaged with the schools and the system as a whole? And then how will you engage parents, community members, and stakeholders in our district? How will you increase visibility of our schools and districts and our needs?
Okay. I think the first part is ensuring all groups are engaged. I'll be visible, accessible, intentional, and I attend a lot of community events, a whole lot. I attended 6 in one night last week, and that's not just Phenix City Schools events, that's community events. I think that's important in this role. You have to be vested in the community, and we have a great community. But also with that, meeting with parent groups, calling parents in, having open houses. If a parent wants to speak to me, I'll speak to them. I return phone calls in a timely manner. Building partnerships that reflect the diversity of Phenix City. I think it's big to build partnerships. I think it's real big. I think also, being inviting, showing sympathy and showing empathy to everyone goes a long ways. Just bringing community groups to the board and recognizing them. I've heard so much praise about that. I get emails from parents who talk about how much they enjoyed it and trying to get things like that out there. Engaging parents and increasing visibility. I'll strengthen communication through multiple platforms, host community forums, create opportunities for families to visit our schools. I think that's big. Highlight student and staff achievement. Visibility builds trust, and trust strengthens schools. One of the things that we are currently developing, I want to give Eric Robinson kudos on this. Me and Mr. Robinson meet every Thursday for about an hour. It's my favorite time of the week. We meet 8:30 to 9:30, and that's where we create our letter to the board and to the community. And we always create a paragraph. It's generally motivational. That's the goal. And I said to him, hey, Eric, man, we got to create something with a data bank. We got to get more community involvement. And I know everybody says that, but we really got to do it. I don't want just people coming by every now and then. I want them in our schools all the time. And he instantly says, let's create the village. And I said, the village? He says, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village. We're creating the village data book that has the Divine Nine in it, has different organizations in it, has the NAACP in it, has the Chamber of Commerce in it, has all these communities, community people that can partner with us. We want every church, we want every pastor, and what we want to do is call them in this summer, all of them. I literally visualize 100 to 300 people and call them in and say, we need you. And I think that's one thing that we just haven't done. We say, hey, we'd like you to be here. No, we need you. We need you. Some of the things we've done, we have a school that has a fraternity that shows up for lunch and does lunchroom duty and fist bumps to people, or Noble Williams and his church at Meadow Lane high-fiving kids as they walk in. And I think that's important when you have your football team opening car doors for kids as they go in, and you have your softball team doing the same thing, or you have cheerleaders. That's how you bridge a culture, and that's how you bridge the community together, because kids see that and they're like, man, I want to be like that one day. I want to be that one that fist bumps. So I think doing all that could help with this, making this diverse community and everything better.
As we select a new superintendent for Phoenix City Schools, what are the 3 top strengths and attributes you believe you bring to the district that they could benefit from?
I think one is instructional leadership, and that's instruction as far as I bring a strong understanding of teaching, learning, and data-driven improvement. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of research. I'm always looking at scores and looking at different avenues of ways to increase learning. I think another way is to assist admin in that role and say, hey, what can we do to help you in this avenue? We must motivate and get buy-in from our teachers when it comes to this, and we must listen to their needs and take their feedback. Teachers wear a tool belt. We got to give them the tools to put on that tool belt. So I would say instructional leadership. I would say the second thing, as I've already talked in length about, is strategic systems and funding thinking. I'm always thinking about funding and ways to get your bang for your buck. I know how to build sustainable structures. I know how to save money so we can use that money to, hey, instead of let's cut this cost here because we can bid this out and get it cheaper, and let's use that building money to go buy books in this avenue. And that supports long-term student success while maximizing financial resources. And I'd say the last thing, just relationship building. I'm a big relationship building. I know a lot of people. I'm gonna go into the community. I'm gonna build relationships. When I became superintendent designee, one thing I did was we took, me and Coach Bell and Miss Mason, we went every Friday to the community and handed out free football tickets just to come to the game. That got out in the community. So I think it's relationship building. And with that relationship, I think I can sit in any environment, anywhere, I think I can make that environment better, but I think I can learn something from that environment. I think if there's 9 people at the table in an environment, I can be the one talking the most, or I can sit back and let 7 talk more than me. And I think in a good relationship, I can lead, but I think I can also follow. So I would say the third one would be relationship building.
Thank you for answering our questions today. Is there any additional information that you would like to share with our board?
I just want to stress again that I never wanted to be superintendent, just superintendent of Phenix City Schools. My vision is aspirational, which is changing the world by developing future leaders one child at a time. But I believe whenever you have a vision, you got to have a mission, and your mission is operational. My mission is to let your light shine. I think that every child has a light. I think every one of us has a light. I don't think it matters what part of the city you're from. You all have a light, and we have to teach them how to make that light shine. And then together, I think we paint a picture. Positivity, intensity, consistency, teachable, unity, relationship, and equity, always while maintaining a winning attitude.
Thank you for being a part of the process. I can't say welcome to Phoenix City because you have lived in Phoenix City your whole life, but thank you for being a part of the process, and I think this adjourns the
Am I able to
last
ask
interview.
one thing?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Can I give them one more thing? That's my only question. Am I allowed to hand them something else?
Sure.
Okay. If you would give them a hat, and you two can take one also. I really appreciate this interview. It really is an honor to do this interview, and I really wholeheartedly mean that. This hat expresses everything you just interviewed me on. Every question is answered on this hat. It is a red dot, okay, in the middle, and the red dot was invented in the 80s, and it meant we believe. And then the red dot turned into winning attitude. If you look at the back of the hat, it says changing the world by developing future leaders one child at a time, okay? And in the front, it says let your light shine. So if you're having a bad hair day, you can wear the hat, and you can still have a winning attitude, and you can still let your light shine. And I really visualize this because imagine if every employee, we gave this at Institute, and imagine if 100 employees wore this every day around town. This is good PR, this is good for our community. They're in line, somebody reads the back, they say, hey, what does that mean? Well, I work at Phenix City, winning attitude. We believe you should let your light shine. And that's not just kids. Everybody should let their light shine. And I think we need to promote that, okay? So I appreciate the opportunity, and that is my gift to y'all for allowing me this opportunity to interview.
All right, thank you.
All right. So at the end, we'll have a meet and greet in the lobby, and then I think Ms. Daniels will take it from here. Thank you, friend. And Ms. Daniels and I were in that class that created the red dot. I'm just saying. So, she's
I may have known that.
She's, yes. Thank you, Melissa and Denise, for that. Thank you, Mr. Walters, for interviewing with us tonight. And we want to thank those that are in the audience for us because we know that it does take a village. And so we appreciate you being here throughout this week to hear the interviews that we had scheduled for our superintendent. At this superintendent interviews, at this time, I do want to thank Melissa and Denise, if you guys can come back up for us, for taking the time to come. And so I'm going ahead and give you your winning attitude, the red dot. Melissa, we're taking us back in time, but we do want to say thank you all for your time. We know that you could have been somewhere else, but we want to say thank you.
we appreciate being part of the process.
Yes.
It's about building relationships.
It's building relationships. Steve, want to take a picture? Oh, we did? Sorry.
Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Winning attitude. So, thank you all for that. As again, I would be remiss if I would not, before we start our lobby, to give recognition to those that helped put this on tonight. I'll say this week. This is a beautiful setup. We thank you for the time that you put into it, the recording. So at this time, I would like to recognize Katie Robinson. Thank you, Katie. Eric Robinson. Miss Beatrice Thomas. Dr. Sonia Coaxum. And any other staff that had a part in putting this together. We know that it does take a village. It takes everyone to do what needs to be done, and we do appreciate your time and efforts that you put in making this successful for us today. Board members, are there anything else that you guys like to say? So at this time, we're going to have our reception for Mr. Walters in the lobby area. Thank you for coming tonight, and have a great night.